you ready?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bold Moves in Central Florida. This is your host, Jomar Gonzalez, and today I'm excited because we got a special guest here from Nexa Mortgage. His name is Oliver. And Oliver, introduce yourself.
Thanks, man. Hey, first off, I want to say appreciate you for having me here as your first guest. That definitely means a lot to me, and I'm excited to be here. So, yeah, man, let's do it.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. And, the reason why I invited Oliver over was because last episode, I got a lot of emails and DMs asking me about, hey, what do I do? I talked to a realtor, and what's the next step? And I wanted to inform people on this. So thank you, buddy. Thank you for reaching over. And we have some questions, actually, that they sent us. Would you like to answer them?
100%, man. I'm ready. Biggest thing for me is I want everybody to be able to own a home. So if I can answer a couple questions to help more people get into a home, let's do it, man.
Well, First of all, before we start with these questions, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and what got you into these mortgage?
100%, brother. So basically, I'm entering year 4 of my mortgage journey. I absolutely love it. Super excited to be doing what I'm doing. Helping people obtain home ownership has been like super rewarding. So I'm very happy I get to be a part of people's journey. So I started off on the retail lending side. I started off with Altera Home Loans, did that about 6 months, and then I switched to Nexa Mortgage, which is America's largest broker. And I'm having a lot of fun helping way more families than I ever could. And I'm just super thankful and super blessed that I have this privilege.
Man, that's awesome. Now that you told us a little bit about yourself and your background, let's start with the questions. Question number 1, what are some common misconceptions that first-time homebuyers have about the home buying process or the mortgage lending?
Yeah, there's 2 main common misconceptions that I get all the time. So one is that you have to put 20% down to buy a home. And the second one would be that you have to have a really good credit score. Like 700s is what people are assuming, or like high 6s, but you don't have to put 20% down. You can buy a home with actually zero money down for the down payment. And you can go down, we can do mortgages for people with 500. So we can go all the way down to 500 and do a traditional FHA loan.
Well, I'm so happy that you came on this episode because I'm surprised that you can do loans with people with 500 credit score. And you said zero down. That's awesome.
100%. Now, you can't do 0% down on a 500 credit score, but there's multiple options out there, and home ownership is more easier. It's more obtainable than a lot of people think.
Question number 2, what advice would you give to dispel these misconceptions and encourage first-time home buyers to reach out to a lender?
So I'm going to say just reach out to your lender. You don't know where you stand 100% until you reach out to your lender. And your lender's either one, going to show you that you're ready right now, or they're going to put together a game plan for you to get you where you want to be, like what your goals are. So I would say don't be scared. Reach out to that lender, because that way you have you have a game plan in your head of what you're going to do. And then also another part of that is making sure that you have a great realtor. Your realtor and lender should work together like they're Batman and Robin. So having a great team, that's definitely going to put you in the best place to succeed. So don't be scared. Reach out to that lender, because they're only going to help you.
Hey, guys, and just so you know, in the bottom of this link, on the bottom of this podcast, you're going to see a link to Oliver, how you can get a hold of him, how you can apply with him, all that good stuff, so you can communicate with Oliver and myself as well. Now, another question we received.
Wait. But who's Batman and Robin in this situation?
Oh, well, I want to tell you I'm Batman because I have a dog named Batman, and a lot of people know me as Batman, but you can be Batman if you want. It can be Batman, different universe.
Well, the cool thing is when we work together, sometimes you need to be Batman, I need to be Robin,
and vice versa.
Exactly. So I think that's one reason why we work well together. But yeah, definitely the main thing is to make sure that your realtor and loan officer are in your corner, because that's the most important thing.
It
for
is
sure.
very important. A lot of folks don't realize the communications that go behind the scenes. You know, your realtor, you know, you can choose whoever you want to be your lender, but if your realtor has that great partnership, great communication, it makes the process go a lot better, faster, smoother, and at the end is a more pleasant experience for the family.
100%. I'm all about making the process as easy and stress free as possible because buying a home is stressful.
It
And it's not like one of those purchases you're excited about. It's the most expensive purchase of your life, and it's not an exciting one. Like it's filled with stress, anxiety. So we're there. I'm there. We're there to make sure that we take that stress and anxiety from you, and try to make the process as pleasant and easy as possible.
Yeah, one of the things that I realized with first time home buyers, and you know, I was a first time home buyer 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. And even though I've been licensed since 2008, it was my first time buying my own home. And when I stepped into that position, it was nerve wracking, even though I personally knew what steps to take, what's coming up next. It was nerve wracking for me. So I can imagine someone that doesn't know the process and you know all these misinformation that's going out there, you know, what I recommend is, like you said, is reach out to your realtor, reach out to a lender, and hopefully you reach out to us in Central Florida, and we could make that process. You know, you're right. 99% of the people that we talk to, this is the biggest purchase. It is nerve wracking, but we can make that really exciting, really fun, and pleasurable as well.
It's funny that you mentioned when you were going through the home buying process, even though you were buying a home as a licensed realtor, it was nerve wracking for you because, actually, I got into this industry because of when I bought my first home. I felt like I didn't. So it's funny because when I graduated high school, I never knew what I wanted to do with my life. And it was like another level of anxiety for me, to be honest, because I was like, man, what do I want to do? I always knew I loved math. I always knew I loved numbers, but I was like, what do I want to do? So I didn't really have a pleasant experience buying my first home with my wife. But I was like, you know what? I really like what that loan officer's doing, but here are a bunch of ways that I can do it better. So that kind of motivated me to get into the industry. And I was like, you know what? Because I deal with anxiety and stress and all that. Everybody does, right? In that process, it was definitely heightened. But I was like, man, I really like what that person's doing on the other side of the desk, but this is what they should have been doing to help me feel more comfortable. So that was the main reason why I got into this is because I'm like, I get how anxiety and stress, all of that affects a person because it's always affected me my whole life on a deeper level. But I was like, I want to take that away from the people that I'm helping, and there's nothing more rewarding than helping families obtain generational wealth and get into their homes. So that was the main reason why I got into it, honestly.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that we're getting a little off topic here, but you are 100% correct. You know, growing up, you know, some of us didn't have the luxuries of our parents being homeowners and teaching us these steps. You know what I'm saying? So for us, it's very important. You know, for me especially, it's very important to educate these folks. Because when I bought my first home, I realized that there is better ways to communicate. Because I remember the builder, the way they were talking to me, and I was like, wow, they're making me feel like a kid. You know, there's different ways to express it. I don't have a PhD in mortgages. You know what I'm saying? Make it to a make it to where I can understand it. You know what I'm saying? That way, I'm not so nervous.
100%.
Are there any myth or misunderstandings about down payment or credit requirements that you frequently encounter?
Yeah. So I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but definitely the 20%. A lot of people just think you have to put down 20%, and you don't. You can get a house with zero money down. There's lots of loan programs out there. You have USDA, which is for rural areas. That's going to be 0% down. Conventional for home buyers, you can go as little as 3% down. You can do an FHA loan where you can buy a home for 3.5% down, or you can combine an FHA loan with a down payment assistance program, and with that, that's another way to get into a house for zero money down. So you don't have to put down 20%. Not sure where that misconception came from, but I will tell you if you put down 20% on a conventional loan, that's how you can avoid mortgage insurance. So I think that might be part of the reason why there's a misconception there, because maybe people are saying, oh, you got to put down 20%, but it's only to avoid mortgage insurance, which is a monthly cost to your mortgage. And then the other thing is that you need to have amazing credit. I mean, there's so many programs out there. Like I said earlier, we could go down to a 500 credit score. So you don't have to have that perfect credit. What I like to do for people is though is if their credit's not where it needs to be, I'll put together a game plan for them. So that way they can get their credit where they want to be, so they can have more favorable interest rates and a more favorable scenario, and their payment will be better because the credit score is tied to the interest rate. So I've always find myself making game plans for people and trying to help them get that up. But to answer your question, no, you don't have to have perfect credit to buy a house.
Okay. Now you brought up FHA, USDA, conventional, all those types of loans. Which one is the most common that you are encountering right now for a first time buyer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say FHA loan program is going to be the one that I'm mostly encountering with my borrowers, just because it's a little bit more, the guidelines are a little bit more relaxed. Guidelines are pretty much the rule book. That's what I like to call it. It's a rule book. They're a little bit more relaxed because they allow you to have a bit of a higher debt to income ratio. So it's a little bit more relaxed, whereas a conventional loan might have a bit more constraints. Like, for example, the debt to income ratio has to be smaller. On a conventional loan, your credit score needs to be a 620, whereas FHA can go down to a 500. So at a 500 credit score, you're putting down 10%. From 500 to 579 credit score, it's 10% down, but 580 plus is 3.5% down. So FHA is more forgiving, and the interest rates are generally lower than conventional loans. And the mortgage insurance, depending on your credit score, the mortgage insurance can be cheaper on an FHA loan. So that's the one that's made more sense for most of my borrowers that I've been helping out lately.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Now, I have a question. I love working with USDA loans. The reason why is I believe that families that get into a USDA qualified home usually see equity back faster than these other type of loans because of the restriction of the area. You know what I'm saying? No? Because, for example, I bought USDA and everybody told me I'm crazy. You're moving out to the middle of nowhere. 3 years later, Starbucks pops up, Publix pops up, all these schools pops up, and my house doubled in value. Versus my friends who bought in the city, their house went up maybe $40,000, $50,000 in that time frame.
I get what you're saying now.
You
Yeah,
know,
so you bought in a rural area that ended up being developed, so your equity was able to climb way faster than someone that was already in the city where not much growth was happening. So
yes,
in your scenario, that definitely worked out.
I think that is if you are open to it, I think it's a great stepping stone so you can reach that level because a lot of people think that their first home is going to be their dream home. You know, a lot of people have this misconception from HGTV where they're going to have a $300,000 loan and they're going to have a pool with a jacuzzi, 5 acres, 4,000 square foot home, and they don't realize that it might take you 4 or 5 houses to get to that house, that dream house, your forever home. You know?
You know what's crazy too is, I mean, St. Cloud still in some locations still are offering USDA loans. So you still have that opportunity to be able to get a house with zero money down in an area that's up and coming. And St. Cloud 10 years from now, I,
It's gonna be a bustling city. You know?
the way that it looks now, I can't imagine 10 years from now, like how much more it's going to be developed. So I definitely say get in there and take advantage while you can.
Yeah, you know, and there's other places as well. You know, reach out to us, make sure because there is other places that accept USDA, and that's a great option. You know, to walk in with almost no money at all. You know, so
Yeah.
moving on to the next question is, um, how can first-time home buyers educate themselves about the mortgage lending process and make informed decisions?
I'm going to go back to one of my last answers, but make go to your realtor, go to your loan officer, because we're there to guide you. like I said, we're Batman and Robin, right? Like your loan officer and realtor, they need to be Batman and Robin. So they're there to guide you, make sure you're on the right path. This might sound
Repetitive.
no, not repetitive, but I don't really know how to say it, but your parents don't know everything. Like your parents bought a house in a different time than we're in now. Um, Things change all the time. Like guidelines change, lending has changed, real estate's changed. So I personally say go straight to your loan officer and realtor because they're the ones that are going to set you on the right path. They're the ones that are there for you. They're actively, this is their profession, right? Like if I'm sick, yeah, I can ask my parents, or am I going to go to a doctor where a doctor, my parents might know what's wrong with me, but the doctor is going to tell me for sure what's wrong with me, right? So it's kind of the same thing in this scenario. Like, yeah, your parents know, or they might know, they've done it before, but they're not doing this for a living. They're not doing this every day. They're not involved in the hustle and bustle and all the different scenarios that we've seen and all the different problems we've had on other transactions where we're able to take that experience and learn from it. So loan officer and realtor, that's going to be your best bet. Don't be scared. We're there to help you, whether you're ready now, you're ready in 6 months, a year, 2 years. That's what we're there for. We're there to guide you and set you on the right path.
Parents, they try their best to help you and inform you, but they're making decisions based on their personal experience, not facts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Still love your parents.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
get with your real estate professionals. This is what we do.
Take them with you, but tell them to, keep it to themselves, because that whatever they say is a seed in your head, and you start double guessing, guessing everything the realtor, the lender says, and then most times out of not, people end up not going through the home process because of those fears that the parents have instilled in them by accident.
100%, man. I agree. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. What resources or tools do you recommend for a first-time home buyer who may feel overwhelmed or intimidated by the process?
So there's a lot of first-time homebuyer courses out there. I definitely recommend maybe looking at a few of those. And again, I'm going to go back to my answer before is lean on your realtor and loan officer. We're literally there. We're your resource. We're your friend. We're your everything. So whatever questions you may have, whatever you need, even if you think is a dumb question, ask us, because it might not be a dumb question. I mean, no question is a dumb question, honestly. You're making the most expensive purchase of your life. You need to know everything that comes with it. And we're there to make that process easier for you and more comfortable. So definitely lean on us as your resource. And I text clients all the time. So don't feel like you're a bother. Like I said, it's the biggest transaction of your life. I want you to know everything that comes with it.
Yeah. And like you said, there is no dumb questions. I ask the same questions in different verbiage just because that's who I am. That's how I'm wired. So if you need to ask 100 questions and they're basically the same question, go ahead and ask whatever makes you feel comfortable. But like you said, you need to have a certain level of what is it? You need to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You need to lean on us, and you need to just do it like blind faith. After you interview your realtor and you interview your lender, you should have complete faith in them, just like you have on your spouse or your parents.
Yeah, trust and faith is definitely important in this industry. Once you've identified the realtor that works the best for you, and the loan officer that works the best for you, definitely trust and faith definitely play a big part into it, for sure.
Yeah. Are there any specific steps or strategies that a first-time homebuyer can take to prepare themselves financially for homeownership?
Yeah. So definitely making sure you don't miss any payments or have any late payments. A lot of people don't know this, but if you're going to be late on a payment, call your bank, call whoever's holding your car loan, whoever's holding whatever debt you may have, call them. Hey, I'm going to be late. Because you know what they do a lot of times? If you let them know that you're going to be late, they won't mark it as a late on your credit report, which can affect your credit score. Or maybe they'll work with you and put you on a payment plan. So don't be late. If you're going to be late, give them a call because they're going to help you. Obviously, they're going to want your money, so they're going to do whatever they can to help you to make sure that you're repaying them. So definitely do that. Keep paying all your bills. Keep your debts low. A lot of times I say get with the loan officer because you can think you're doing the right thing by paying off certain debts when maybe you didn't need to pay that debt off. And if you would have paid another debt off, it would have increased your buying power. So that's why I always say get with the loan officer to help you develop your plan. So that way, like if you say you want to be pre-approved for 500,000, we're gonna make a plan 99% of the time to help get you there. Whether that takes a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, like we're gonna set you on the right track. So don't miss any payments. Keep your credit card utilization low. That's a big thing. I see a lot of people that have high credit utilizations, and having a high credit utilization impacts your credit score a lot. So those are a couple of steps that I would take, as well as getting with your loan officer. Of course, I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's true. I mean, that's going to be the best way to. It's kind of like a cheat code to get you where you want to be. It's literally a cheat code working with a loan officer.
It is. It is. And I've seen you do magic to some of my clients and get them ready sooner rather than later when they thought it was impossible, because of the game plan strategy that you put in place for them.
What? I don't even mean to cut you off, but there has been times where people are ready to go right now and they just didn't know it. They just needed me to tell them, by looking at their whole scenario. So it's like you could be ready right now or not even know it, or you could think you're ready right now, but you actually need a game plan. So that's why I always say get with your mortgage professional, because they're going to be the ones to tell you exactly how it is right there. And honestly, don't be scared to get a second opinion. And I have a story on that we'll probably get into a little bit later, but definitely ask for a second opinion because not, and I know we're getting off topic of the question, but your first loan officer could miscalculate your income, right? Because they didn't know that in your scenario, they could have given you credit for your overtime income. So also it is important to get more than one opinion.
Yeah, yeah, true. Not every professional is specialized, or hones in their skills as much as others, just like in professional sports, you have LeBron James, not everybody's LeBron James. So make sure you get second opinions. Um, I think that getting off the question, I think that the biggest um issue that most people have before they reach out to a professional is they go around and ask their coworkers, "Hey, I'm trying to buy a house." Number one, they're gonna tell you misleading information, and number two, 9 times out of 10, that person doesn't want you to purchase a home. So they're going to mislead you and tell you how difficult and scare you away from your dream of home ownership. So, I recommend keep it to yourself, talk to a professional, and don't tell anybody until you're ready under contract about to move in.
You know what? Like, no two scenarios are the same. So just because it worked out for one person one way, it might not work out for another person the same way. So that's why I always say get with your mortgage professional, because their game plan is going to be very tailored to you. It's not like a general plan. Like if I'm telling you keep your credit card utilization under 30%, that's a pretty general statement. But if I'm looking at your scenario, I can say, hey, pay this card, this card, this card off. Your credit score should jump up to this. And if you do all this, you'll be pre-approved for this. So the game plans are not general statements like keep your credit up, have a low utilization. Like it's a very tailored game plan to get you on your path. And if you do everything that's on the game plan, you're going to be buying a house in whatever time frame we said.
Yep. And that's why it's very important that you must talk to a lender. You must get a pre-approval. I've heard a lot of stories. I actually had a client the other days reach out to me saying that she's looking at houses. And when I meet her at this house, I asked her, "Hey, where's your pre-approval?" "I don't have one." So for 6 months, she's been looking at houses. And when I had her reach out to you, she wasn't quite there yet. She's going to be soon, but she wasn't quite there yet. So number one, she got all emotional, all excited looking at these houses. And now, the little ether falls. So make sure you talk to a lender. Make sure you talk to your realtor before you start looking at houses, because that could be a real buzzkill.
100%.
Um, Can you share a success story or example of a first-time homebuyer who overcame initial hesitations or misconceptions to successfully secure a mortgage?
Yeah. So the reason why I had to say, or the reason why I said like don't listen to your parents is because I've literally had a scenario where this it was a young couple. They were really listening to their parents, and love your parents. Your parents do give good advice, but sometimes, like we said earlier, they're basing their experience of buying the home the same, trying to project that onto them, right? So I had a younger couple buying a home, and they were like, my parents said this, my parents said that, and they were like just doubting everything that I said. And as we mentioned earlier, trust and faith in your realtor and trust and faith in your loan officer is very, very important. So literally everything that I would mention to them, they would negate it and say, hey, my parents said this, hey, my parents said that. So there was just one time where I politely and respectfully had to say, hey, listen, your parents are not a lender. They bought a house 30 years ago. Please just listen to me and trust me. Like, I do this every day. I try to help as many families as I can. Just take my advice. And at the end, you're going to see that I was right. So I had to have one of those moments where I had to just, sit them down and talk to them kind of and just do that. And then they ended up closing. They closed, I think, a week early, walked into 10 grand of instant equity. Seller paid all their closing costs. Like, it was just a perfect scenario that, everybody would dream for. And thankfully they did, listen to me after I had to have that conversation with them, because parents mean well. It's all with love, but we they also can be an interference, which we don't want to happen.
Yeah, and not a good interference. It could lead you away from your dreams and goals.
All right.
Correct. What are your feelings on down payment assistance and programs out there?
Free money's not free. You're gonna pay for it somehow, whether it's built into the interest rate or you're gonna have to repay it back someday. I love doing down payment assistance if it makes sense for the person, and if it's the only way for them to get in a home and they're comfortable with everything and the payment's comfortable for them and the scenario just makes sense. It has to make sense. Like, it has to be like, if it's gonna put you in a bad situation as a home buyer, I'm gonna tell you, hey, I don't recommend this. Um, but if it's the right scenario and it makes sense for you, I definitely will help you with it.
I'm going to tell you my experience. A lot of other people don't care.
Yeah.
And if you ask for it, they'll give it to you without explaining you the reaction, to this action, and that's the problem. A lot of people go blind, they trust their lender, but their lender really has either no knowledge or doesn't care, and they get this down payment assistance program, and it hurts them later on when in reality they had the opportunity to purchase the house without the down payment assistance. So
All right. Yeah. Like, I definitely explain to my borrowers, like, hey, this is your scenario. This is how much you're going to be paying. If you didn't go with this down payment assistance and you went the traditional way, this is what the numbers would look like. So definitely I make sure, they know exactly what's going on. Of course, they accept it. And honestly, like, if it's a bad situation and it doesn't make sense for them, I'll just tell them straight up, like, hey, don't do. I, here's your options, but I don't recommend you do it because I don't think it's makes sense for your scenario.
yeah. Now, before we get to the last couple of questions, I do want to remind you guys, if you guys like what you're hearing, subscribe to the Bold Moves in Central Florida. Make sure you hit like so we can keep getting that love and keep having that energy to produce more episodes. And let's continue. What are some common pitfalls or mistakes that first-time homebuyers should avoid when navigating the mortgage lending process?
So we were talking about this off camera, but definitely don't get a car right before you're about to buy a house. Like, wait on getting the car. Try to keep your debts as minimal as possible, because you getting a car right before you're about to get a mortgage or while you're in the process of getting a mortgage, it can affect your approval odds. So I would definitely say buy a house before you buy that next car that you're looking at, because thankfully it hasn't happened to me, because I make sure that my borrowers know, like, when we're in the middle of the process, you cannot do anything. Like you cannot touch your credit. If you want to buy a car, then you better hope you're gonna live in that car because that can throw a curveball to the process. And 99 times out of 100, that can disqualify someone from once they were pre-approved. So definitely the car for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't want to sacrifice their lifestyle, and I feel that if you have a goal, you have a dream. Like if you want to be a bodybuilder, you don't eat junk food. When you work out, you take care of your body, right? So if you want to make financial choices that's going to impact you in the long run, like becoming a homeowner, you might need to hold off on that new Mercedes for a year or two. You might want to downsize in the apartment that you're renting. Maybe instead of living in a nicer neighborhood, live in an area that you don't see yourself in, but you're saving $200-300 a month because that's going to help you in the long run. Every penny helps, and I feel like some people don't want to sacrifice lifestyle when it comes to these choices or dreams and goals. You need to sacrifice something so you can get to that end picture that you want.
It's funny that you say that because sometimes a part of your game plan can be like, hey, you need to save $3,000 while we're in the process of your home transaction. So if you got to eat ramen for 3 weeks,
Hey,
to make sure you don't spend money on food, like you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes it's about sacrifice, as you said, for the bigger picture. So like we've told people like, hey, you need to save up $3,000 within these next 3 weeks. Eat ramen every day, your whole family. Like you got to do what you got to do to make this happen. After that, you can do what you want to do, but if you want to buy a home, this is sometimes you got to make sacrifices and do what you got to do.
yeah, I had a family just stop going out every Sunday to Starbucks before church. That was $50 right there.
It adds up. It adds up.
Little stuff here and there. Just that's just an example. But I think it's very important that if you have that goal, you need to know that there is sacrifices that come along with it, and be ready, enjoy it, embrace it. Because when you get that house, all that sacrifice you're gonna feel good about. Right?
Embrace it, and it'll be worth it.
Yes, sir. Now, this is one of the last questions. In your experience, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of helping first-time homebuyers achieve their homeownership dream?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me this question, and this is the story I said I'm going to tell a little bit later. But man, I had one just hit me. I'm gonna give you a specific scenario. This veteran, Army vet, came to me and was like, "Hey man, um, I've been through 7 different lenders before you. Nobody could get this done. I just want to give it one more shot." So I was like, "All right, cool. What's the scenario?" So I started talking to him. I'm a broker, so I work with a bunch of different lenders. We have over 240 different lenders. So I brought this scenario to, a bunch of my lenders. 3 of them were like, "No, we can't do this." So the 4th lender was like, "Yeah, we can do this." It was a very specific scenario, and we were able to get it done. And that was probably the most rewarding, honestly, transaction that I've ever been a part of. Because even though I had one lender tell me yes, their yes didn't make me feel confident, and I didn't feel comfortable just because basically 10 other companies have told them no, right? So I took that yes and I told them, "Hey, this lender says yes, but I don't want to get your hopes up, but we're gonna do it. Like, let's just go for it." And the moment that I got that clear to close, it was like midnight one night, and I knew he was awake. I knew my borrower was awake because he's a sound engineer.
Nice.
So I texted him and I was like, "Dude, we got the clear to close." So then I called him, like, because I wasn't sure if he was awake. Like, I wasn't sure if he was working, but I was pretty sure. So I called him, and that was the first transaction that brought a tear to my eye because I was able to help a veteran, number one, someone that has served our country. And with him, it took a couple months because first I made a game plan for him to get his credit up because I wanted him to be in a more favorable situation. So we got his credit score up. There were still some other challenges along the way, but we were able to get it done. Like I said, it brought a tear to my eye, and that is the most rewarding thing is getting families into homes, especially when they think they couldn't. And you know what's so funny? He texted me the other day a video of his kids in their backyard running around. And I literally texted him back and I was like, this is why I do what I do. Because I'm able to provide so much joy to families, help them build generational wealth, got them out of a really bad situation that they were in. Like, I got goosebumps right now just talking about this story.
No, and that's an amazing story too, because number one, 7 other people gave up on them, and you know the fact that he had the will and the strength to reach out to you, try it one more time. Imagine he didn't try one more time; he would still be renting.
Some people give up after 2 or 3 times,
and he wouldn't be sending you video of his kids playing. And I can tell you that I have 5 kids, and whenever I see my kids having fun, that means more to me than any other accomplishment that I have done in my life. Seeing their face, knowing as a man that I'm providing the life that they deserve makes you feel incredible. So the fact that you were able to pull that off for them, you know, is astonishing because everybody else turned their back on them. Yeah. And he's a VA. He totally deserves people to go up to bat for him.
100%. I was just happy that, you know, he served our country and now it was time for me to serve him. And we got it done, man. Thank God.
You know, for me, I feel like everybody's is worth going the extra mile for, but I do have a special soft spot for VAs and single parents, whether it's a single dad or a single mom. You know, when you were talking about your story, I remember a few years back, I had a lady reach out to me, and she's like, "Jomar, I want to buy a house." She reached out to a lender that her parents recommended, and she gave her a game plan, whatnot. 6 months later, I reached out, wasn't there yet. A year later, wasn't there yet. But guess what? 2 years later, she hit me up. "Jomar, I got that pre-approval." She bought the house when all her friends and family told her that it was impossible for her to own a house. Now they own their own house with a big yard, and each of their kids is a Brady Bunch family. You know, each of them have their own bedroom now. And once a year on their closing date, they reach out to me and send me pictures of what they upgraded around the house. And let me tell you, these people, you know, they do great work. They have great careers in the medical field. But guess what? Their most proud moment was becoming a homeowner. You know, so that's incredible.
Those game plans work, man. Like, if you get that game plan done and you follow it to a T, you're going to buy a house.
Yeah.
But if I give you a game plan and you don't follow it, or you do half of the things, or you get discouraged by it, I'm sorry, but you won't be able to buy a house. And whether you do a game plan or not, 9 times out of 10, whether you follow it or not, shows me how serious you are about buying a house. Because if you really want to buy a house, you're going to do everything in your power. Now, I get it. Sometimes you can't follow a game plan to a T because life happens, right? But if you want to buy a house, you're going to buy a house. Yeah. You're going to put yourself in a situation to buy a house.
Yeah. It's about priorities and the will, your will. How strong is your will to make that goal happen?
100%.
Before we end today's episode, Oliver, do you want to give us your information so we can reach out to you as well? We're going to have it on the link below and all that good stuff, but throw your plug in.
Man, that's funny because I feel like we were just getting started. But honestly, man, it was such a pleasure to be a part of your first episode. Definitely look forward to coming back if you would have me. But yeah, I mean, you can find me pretty much everywhere. So I'm on Facebook. My name is Oliver Khedawy. My last name is Khedawy. Instagram _ Egyptian Poppy.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm giving you all my personal pages because I post both personal stuff and mortgage related stuff and real estate stuff. So that way you can see, you know, what my day-to-day looks like. So follow me on my personal pages. And it was a pleasure being here, man. Like I said, I'm so excited to support my boy, be here on his first podcast episode. This one was probably a little bit rough, but it's only up from here.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to learn more.
Well, I'm super excited to have you, Oliver. I'm super glad it was you to be in my first episode. I look forward to having you on multiple episodes. But not only that, hopefully maybe in the future we can co-host other episodes together.
Hey, man, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
I kind of like this. I might be a co-host.
Yeah. Hey, it sounds great, right? It's a good plan. We'll talk about it. But also, guys, one note before I end the episode. leave the stress to us.
Yeah,
Let us
100%.
stress. Your job is already, stressful to provide for your family and achieving this goal. Let us stress, because there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that you guys don't know about, that you never will know about, because
Right.
we don't want to overstress you and scare you. But just know that we're here fighting for you. We are the ones that lose sleep at night to make your dream happen. So just remember that. Let us stress. You relax and do what you're told from the lender, and everything will be A-OK.
You know what's funny? Let me just add to that real quick, because I think that is very important. Like, buyers, home buyers, please leave your stress to us, because that's what we do. We want you to have it as stress-free as possible. I know it's easier to say it than actually doing it, but we genuinely mean, like, leave your stress for us. And it's even funny because I do the same thing to realtors. Like, I try to make them as stress-free as possible too. So you won't know about there's a lot of things you won't know about. Like, there's things that you don't know about. You know what I mean? Like, from our side. So realtors, leave your stress to us. Home buyers, leave your stress to us. Like Jomar said, there's a lot of times where you don't even know, because we don't want to stress you out, and we get stuff resolved in the background. So leave your stress to us. That's what we're here for.
Another thing that just popped up, I guess we're not closing so fast. Another thing that just popped up in my head was a lot of folks ask lender questions to realtors and realtor questions to lenders. If you talk to a professional, a realtor and a lender, they will tell you what they can, what their boundaries are. So that way you don't ask the wrong person the question. Because I'm a realtor, I don't know much about lending, if anything, and the rules constantly change. Just like you don't know what has to be done and performed on my end so the deal can be closed. So guys, make sure you have that talk with your client, so that way you don't get upset when the realtor says that's not a question for me, or a lender tells you, hey, wrong person,
Right.
Just keep that. Remember, we both have different positions to play. And as long as you follow those rules and everything that you heard in this podcast today, you will be fine. Promise you. Check me out at Bold Moves in Central Florida on YouTube. Pretty soon it's going to be streaming in other platforms as well. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a blessed day, everyone.
Con un equipo de más de 50 agentes en la Florida Central, Property Outlet es una de las más grandes firmas de bienes raíces en Kissimmee y Orlando. En Property Outlet procuramos no venderte una casa, procuramos ofrecerte un hogar.